S-U-S-J-E-S-U-S-J-E-S-U-S, and Jesus was his name, oh.
Hey, boys and girls, and welcome back to St. Joe's Story Hour. Today's story is a story about, it's about Fancy Nancy. Remember her? And this story is about Nancy's dog show disaster. Things didn't go so well. But here's the good news. Things work out by the end of the story. And the other good news, Mrs. Toste, Patty Toste from the 9:30 Mass is reading this story. So we know we're going to enjoy it when Mrs. Toste is reading. And one of those things, it's so important. There are times in the gospel when people get really competitive and they forget in the middle of trying to do a great job or win or do something, maybe they're not always nice as they should be, huh? Even some of the saints went through a period where they wanted to be first. St. Andrew and St. John had this big conversation with Jesus. Let us have the best seat. And then Jesus reminded them, it's not so important that you get the best seat. It's not so important to win. What's important is that you love. Enjoy the story, and I'll see you when it's over.
This story is called Nancy's Dog Show Disaster. Uh-oh. Let's see what happens. Bree and I are watching a dog show on TV. Dog shows are très élégant. Dogs do tricks, and then a judge decides which dog is best. That lucky dog wins a trophy. That's when I get an idea. We should have a dog show in my backyard. I'll spread the word, says Bree. Then I'll get waffles so we can practice. Bree arrives with her dog Waffles. Since I'm practically an expert at dog shows, I explain how it's done. First, the dogs need to show that they are obedient. I say, that's a fancy way of saying to do what they're told. Bree tells Waffles to sit and lie down. Waffles does everything Bree says. Good dog, Waffles, says Bree. Now Frenchie will demonstrate the fancy part of the contest, when dogs show off their special skills, I say. I know Frenchie is going to be more than good. He's going to be spectacular. I hold up a hoop and say, jump, Frenchie. But Frenchie doesn't jump. Instead, he barks and runs away. Stop, Frenchie, I shout. He runs toward Mrs. Devine and her little dog, Jewel. Frenchie wants to play, but Jewel doesn't want to play. It's okay, Jewel, Mrs. Devine says. Leap. Jewel jumps right up into her arms. I grab Frenchie's collar, feeling embarrassed that he didn't listen to my commands. I tell Bree that Frenchie's had enough practice for now. Okay, says Bree. See you at the dog show. I practice with Frenchie in private. If you want to win, you must be obedient, I tell him. Then I see Frenchie looking at my hoop. Now I understand. Frenchie doesn't want to do those boring moves. He wants to do a fancy trick. I hold up the hoop and say, Frenchie, jeté. That's French for leap. But Frenchie doesn't jeté. Instead, he gives me big doggy kisses. Oh, Frenchie, I adore you too, I say. But doggy kisses won't win us the dog show. Just then, the other contestants arrive. Let's do this, says Lionel. He has brought his dog Flash. Yeah, Waffles can't wait, says Bree. Rhonda and Wanda will be the judges. They even brought a trophy for the winners. They go over the rules. To get this trophy, a dog must be obedient and show off their special skill, Rhonda explains. I just don't understand, I tell Frenchie. Since I'm fancy, my dog should be fancy too. I am practically pouring my heart out to Frenchie, but instead of listening to me, he runs after Jewel again. Come back, I shout. Mrs. Devine sees Frenchie coming and says, Jewel, leap. Again, Jewel leaps right up into her arms. Jewel is très fancy. If I had a dog like her, I'd win the dog show. Absolument. That's French for absolutely. That gives me a brilliant idea. I ask Mrs. Devine if she will do me a favor. Of course, says Mrs. Devine. Anything for you, Nancy. The dog show is ready to begin. Where's Frenchie? Bree asks. I explain that Frenchie is indisposed. That's fancy for he can't make it. Luckily, Jewel can take his place. No fair, says Lionel. I've seen Jewel do fancy tricks. But Rhonda and Wanda say it's okay. A dog is a dog, so I can compete with Jewel. We start with part 1, obedience. We tell our dogs to sit, stand, and lie down. All the dogs do what we say, but Jewel is by far the most elegant. Halfway through the competition, Rhonda and Wanda announce that Jewel and I are in the lead. Magnifique! We're winning, I tell Jewel. Do you want to give me doggy kisses to celebrate? But Jewel turns away, uninterested. She doesn't even want to cuddle. Rhonda and Wanda say that now it's time for the dogs to show off their special skills. Waffles does backflips. Yay, good boy, Waffles, says Bree. Flash catches a disc in the air. Nice one, Flash, shouts Lionel. Now it's time for Jewel to show off her special skill. I'm almost 100% positive that once the judges see Jewel leap through the hoop, we'll win that trophy. I hold up the hoop for Jewel, but then I see Frenchie in the window. He looks really sad. I begin to miss Frenchie terribly. Oh, there's not a fancy word enough to describe how much I love him. Frenchie, here boy, I shout. Frenchie is so excited he runs out of the doggy door. Wanda blows her whistle. Nancy, you can't show 2 dogs, she says. You're disqualified. Bree and Waffles win the dog show, says Rhonda. I don't care if we don't win, I tell Frenchie. To me, you're still the best dog in the world. Fancy just barks. I think that's dog for happy. So in the beginning of the story, all Nancy could think about was winning that trophy. But in the end, she realized that what was most important was to show her love and share her love with her best friend, Frenchie the dog. The end.
What do you think? That dog show disaster was some disaster, wasn't it? But here's the good news. Things work out. But I'd also want you to think about it a little bit. How sometimes, being the first in line or being the first kid to run down the block or doing whatever else it is that makes us look like the winner, sometimes that's not the most important thing to do. Sometimes it's really important to be kind and to show a little bit of love to the people who need it the most, huh? So what do you think? Great story? Something that Jesus would really have us notice. So God bless you, and I'll see you next time.